All right. Today is day 144. I want to keep looking in Kansas City. Today we got an eightplex. For those of you that have not seen our latest podcast episode, check it out on youtube.com/at Kent_HE. Found a contractor. He's done over 400 rehabs in KC. And he used to be a Section 8 inspector. So hopefully this turns out to be a good resource for all of you in our affordable housing and real estate investing community. Let's get into it. All right. So today, just looking for multifamily. I found a eightplex. I was like, oh, interesting. I haven't analyzed an eightplex before, but this is in Kansas City on the Kansas side, just above the Johnson County line. So first things first, like what we do always is let's do a quick street view. Lots of these smaller multifamily homes around here. Some apartment buildings, pretty much a very much multifamily area. Looks okay. I didn't see anything jumped out. Let me see. Let me check this crime score. So I'm gonna go to tophap.com, tophap.com, and I'm gonna go to the neighborhood section. And then you'll see that, the crime score is a little high, 150. So this is again a very street by street neighborhood. So probably requires a little bit due diligence on the neighborhood before you ever pull a trigger. But let's go ahead and check out the condition of the property. So let's see. Art, 4 duplexes for a total of 8 units. Blocks from university. Kansas's only medical school. Oh, okay. It's good that there's a good amount of job. 3 duplexes on 4-foot crawl spaces, with one constructed in a full basement for additional space. So that could be a laundry room. Okay, good to know. It's one way to get additional income. I'll use a rehab. Fisher 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. Tenants pay all the utilities, so there is no utilities included. Each duplex 1,098 is the currently highest rent achieved. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay. So next thing I want to do is let me see if I can get the rents and property tax. So I got property tax for 812. Boom. Note these things down. Insurance is 649. I'm going to multiply that by 1.2 like we typically do. All right. Next thing to do with we want is to get the rents that we can expect for the properties. Now, for Kansas City, Kansas has their own housing authority. And I simply got here from just Googling Kansas City Housing Authority and looking at fair market rents. And you can see right here that they actually list out their FMR, so their fair market rents by bedroom for this housing authority. And FMRs right here says that they are inclusive of rents and utilities. So these amounts include utilities. Very, very important. So you don't include utilities, usually you have to back out some of the utility allowances from here. And it also says actual rents paid are based on rent reasonableness study. So that's good to know. And since these are all 2 bedroom units and there's 8 of them, 1280 is going to be my FMR. Let's do 1280. Yeah, right here. And then we're going to have the market rent. So by going to affordablehousing.com, going to the market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count, I can see that for 25 units within a 0.13 mile radius, the average rent here is 976. So I'm going to assume I can probably get, they said 1150 was the highest. I'm going to assume it's $1,000. Let's be a little bit conservative in our underwriting. 17 and 1150. So because this is 976 and that's a lower when compared to 1280, I'm going to use the 976 number as my baseline. So I'll probably just round up to $1,000 and I'm going to multiply that by 8 to get my gross rent of $8,000 a month. All right. Let's see. What do I need to do for renovations? I don't really have much photos here. This looks pretty good for the most part. Have these all been renovated? Let's see. Any descriptions? All units have been rehabbed. Okay. So I might set aside some money, assuming it's turnkey, just for painting the place, because I'm assuming there's some turnover costs, and when people move out, there's going to need to be something done. So how many square feet? It's 5,600 square feet. So I'm going to assume that there's painting for $5,600 at $3 a square foot. So I set some money aside. No need for flooring updates. I'm going to assume there's no pest issues, but let me just put in $1,000 to kind of filter out for any pest issues. And Assume the water heaters are okay, unless I find that, and then I'll just get some stuff. Got. Let's just assume that there's some roof issues. So I'm gonna set aside $3,000 for the roof, just in case there's something going on. And $500 to clean up the outside while we're turning it over. So that's not much of it in terms of rehab. It's about 25 grand on a $1 million property. That's not bad. So let's say for 999. So let's plug these numbers in. 999 and 25,580. If I go get a loan right now, so this is assuming $8,000 is my rent. Zero. I got my property tax of 812. I got insurance of 778, and I'm setting aside $800 every single month for maintenance on this property. We got 10% for property management, 5% for vacancy, just because they're duplexes, so I'm not expecting them to be any lower than that. Oh, this is not a deal. So after plugging the numbers, I'm at 25% down, and I'm using 8% interest rate on this property. That's going to yield me negative 1,088. So let's go through these scenarios. $8,000 rent. I want to be negative 1,088 for cash flow, and that's a negative 4.4% cash and cash return. Assuming my purchase price was 999,000, so close to 1 million, and my rehab was about roughly 25 grand, using a 25% down at 8% interest rate. All right, it's not a deal. Well, let's play around with numbers. Like what would have made it a deal? If I lowered my purchase price, let's say it goes to 500 grand. Okay, 550. I'm going for 10% return right now. 525. There you go. If I paid 530, 535, yeah, that's pretty close. I'd be willing to pay $535,000 for this property because that would have resulted in a cash and cash return of 10.2 at 1464 for 10.2% return with $8,000 rent. Okay, $25,000 rehab, everything else is constant. Now, what they said was, okay, according to this, you can go get up to a 1098. That's your max rent. Okay, well, if the housing levy does accept your comps as 1098 because you got one of the units out, well, at 1098 times 8, now what are you willing to pay for the property? Now, if you want to keep the same type of cash and cash return, let's go 600 grand. 650, 625. There you go, 620. There you go. At $620,000, if you assume that you can get the maximum rent there, and that results in 8,784 for your total rents because you bumped up by $98 for every single property, you're now going to cash flow 1,585, and your cash and cash return is now 9.7%, assuming everything else is constant at 25% down, 8% interest rate. So for me, this isn't necessarily a deal, and there's not much room to move in terms of rehab. So it's not like a situation where you can have to rehab and then all of a sudden say, well, can I offer more for this property? Now, this is a pretty significant spread between 620 and $1 million. So this is probably not going to work. And because this is a portfolio of 4 duplexes, this just ain't going to work. So fortunately, it's eightplex. I thought I might have had a chance because it's the eightplex, but because it's priced so high, it's just still not worth it and does not fit my criteria. Now, what you want to do for your own deals is you want to go through this process, understand your own investment criteria really, really well. Because just because I'm looking for a 10% cash and cash return in this market, in that neighborhood with a 150 crime score, I might be looking closer to 150, or I mean 15% cash and cash return. Why? Because if it's a higher crime area, chances are the appreciation is going to be a little bit more limited. And unless you're in a high appreciating market where you're willing to accept a lower cash and cash return, which is what some folks might do in a state such as California, that might be something that people do. They say, hey, I just want to break even on my property because I know the market's going to continue going up and up and up. That's your own personal choice. This is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments. I'm simply doing the work every single day. That's the uncool, unsexy part of real estate. If you think about it, in order for you to buy 100 deals, chances are you probably have to analyze 1,000 at the minimum. So here's the real reason why I'm doing this. I hope you all are copying what I'm doing every single day. Look at the video I just did. And chances are you'll probably find a better way to explain a certain part or a certain piece of what I just underwrote. Do the same thing. Do the same property tomorrow using the same spreadsheet. Just DM me your email on at invest with Kent He on Instagram, and I'll send it over to you. But I remember how scared it was when I started. And sometimes it's scary because you don't know what to pick or how to even start or even have the information. I'm not saying everybody can or needs to be an analyst or an underwriter for a deal, but this is just one way that I have found to be helpful. It gives myself comfort and confidence. And sometimes we get anxiety from having too many options to pick. So this is just one of your options. You can analyze the same deal I did today using the same spreadsheet, do it tomorrow, do one part of it better so we all get 1% better, and put it on your own YouTube channel. You do it for 18 minutes a day for one whole year. You would have done more work and you would be better underwriting deals than 95% of the world. Might that give you a little bit more confidence in what you're doing? So when it comes time for you to pull a trigger, you can look back and reflect and like, hey, I probably know what I'm doing. I've analyzed 100 deals in the last 100 days. Or better yet, go for 365 days with me. I know how hard it is to grow a following. So if you go live and you want to tag me in your stories, I'll share it. I love seeing the consistency. And sometimes that's probably the best compliment you ever get because consistency and discipline is probably one of the hardest things to ever do. So do it with me. Don't have to feel lonely. Do it with me. Analyze the same deals. Let's get better together. All right. Have an amazing Wednesday, everybody. Spend some quality time with your family and friends because that's why we do this.